Hello, in this video, I'll go through the inventory and service template. Now this template is designed for businesses that offer services and also sell physical products. Now on the screen, I've opened up the template and it's powered with Microsoft Excel. So you need to have Microsoft Excel, a version from 2013 installed on your computer. Once you open up the document, you arrive at the dashboard, and this holds 3 thumbnails to navigate to the 3 major sections of the template. We have the product section where you add new products and or services, the sales section where you enter your daily sales, and the report section where you can generate multiple automatically generated reports. Now in this video, I'm going to go through all the sections, starting with the first, which is the products. To open a particular section, you simply click on the button. Notice as I click on products, it takes me to that section of the template. So now we're in the product section. Now all sections in this template have an identical formatting. In the upper left-hand corner, we have the section title, and this tells the user at any point in time the section you're on. So notice it says product information, so you know this is where you list all the products that you sell. To the right of this, we have 3 buttons: to add a new product, to delete an existing product, and to navigate to the service section where you can add the services that you render. Above the 3 buttons here, we have our navigation pane, and this holds several buttons to navigate to other sections of the template. Each label represents a button you simply click, for instance, dashboard, and it takes you to that section of the template. Recall we then clicked on products. So each label represents a button to navigate to a particular section of the template. Below the 3 buttons here, we have our data table, and this is where all products will be listed. At the top, we have our column headers. Some of the values will be supplied manually by you, and others will be automatically generated by the template. To add a new product, you simply click on the Add New button at the top, and this pops up an Excel form. Now, Excel forms provide a simpler way to store data to this table here. The user has to supply only the product name and an optional description. So let's assume that I sell laptops, and I equally install softwares like Microsoft Office, Adobe, Photoshop, Illustrator, and all of that. So my products will be the laptops that I sell. So I go ahead and list my first laptop. I can go ahead and add an optional description. So I'm just going to write Dell laptop. This is optional. You can go ahead and leave this field blank. Once you're done applying the 2 values, you go ahead and click enter, and it's going to store that laptop to the database. To add another product, you repeat the process. You click on add new. So it pops up the same form. You go ahead and enter the product name and an optional description. So let's assume the second product is a Lenovo laptop. I'm going to leave the description field blank and click enter to store the second product. So now we should have 2 rows. The first row representing the first product we added, the Dell laptop. The second row representing the second product, the Lenovo laptop. So you simply repeat this process, adding all products that you sell. You click the Add New button, pops up a form, supply the name and optional description, click enter to store it. Next, we cover how you delete an existing product. To do so, you simply need to first click on the product you want to delete. So let's assume I want to delete the Dell laptop. I simply click on the product name. You notice the border around the cell. Then I click on the delete row button. Once I do, I get a confirmation message asking if I want to delete this product and also telling me the name of the product. If I do, I click yes. If I don't, I click no. So that's how you add new products and delete existing products. Next, we're going to cover how you add services that you render. To do that, you make use of the Add Service button, and this takes us to the service section of the template. You notice it has a similar formatting, the title in the upper left. To the right, we have a button to delete an existing service. Above, we have our navigation pane, and below we have the table where you're going to list all the services you render. You simply have to supply the service name and the service amount. So to add our first service, I simply click on the field below service name, type the service. Once I'm done typing the service, I make use of the tab key on my keyboard to move to the next field where I enter the service amount. So how much do I charge for this installation? Let's assume that I charge $70,000. To add another service, I simply click on the cell below my last entry, enter the service name, press the tab key to move to the next field, and enter the amount I charge for this installation. Repeating the process again. This is Office 365. This is a monthly subscription, so let's assume we charge $5,000 for the subscription on a monthly basis. So these are the 3 services that I render. You click on the cell beneath, double click, type the service name, and then you type the respective amount. So that's a summary of how this section works. You just simply list all the services that you render. To delete, you simply click on the cell you want to delete, click on delete, click on yes, and you notice that that row is deleted. So that's a summary of the service section. We've equally covered the product section, adding, deleting, and adding services. Now we move along to the expense section, where we're going to enter the starting quantities of the two products we have here. So let's assume that in our store, as at today, the first day that I'm using the template, I have 10 Dell laptops and 5 Lenovo laptops. So to document that, that's to increase the balance in stock, I make use of the expense section of the template. So once I click on expenses, it takes me to that section of the template. This is where you document all of your business expenses. Now we have two types of expenses. We have the direct expenses and the indirect. Now direct expenses are all costs that are linked or directly linked with the products you sell or the services you render. And indirect costs are your overhead like transportation, salaries, advertising, and so on. Now you document both direct and indirect costs in this section. You notice it has a similar formatting, the label in the upper left, 4 buttons on the right to add a purchase, add a product restock, pay your suppliers, delete expenses. Above, we have our navigation pane. Below, we have our table where all expenses will be listed. Now, depending on the type of expense you want to add, you can make use of either the first button or the second button. So for the first example, we're adding our starting quantities for the two products we have, 10 Dell laptops, 5 Lenovo. So that means we make use of the second button because we're adding product restock. We're restocking the products that we have. Now, once you click on the second button, it pops up a form. By default, Excel enters today's date, but you can modify the day, the month, or the year. You can only enter current and past transactions. You can't enter future transactions. Now I'm going to backdate because I purchased this. I already have the product. So let's assume I purchased it on the first day of November. So 1 for the month, day, 11 for the month. Now the format of the dates depends on the settings on your computer. Mine is day, month, year. Kindly check yours if it's month, day, year before using the template. Next, you indicate the status of the purchase. Did you pay for it up front or did you purchase it on credit? Now for this first example, I'm going to make it paid. Later on in the video, when I add suppliers, I'm going to demonstrate the credit functionality. Making use of my tab key to move to the next field, I select the product name. Now this is going to list all products in my database. So if I have 20 products, the 20 products are going to be listed here. I'm going to go ahead and select the first product. Next, I enter the unit price. So how much did I buy 1 unit of this product? So that's 450,000. I currently have 10 units. The template will automatically calculate the total. Now there are two types of totals that the template can support. It helps you also calculate your input tax. So it uses the default 5% for your input tax. So if the supplier charged you 5% input tax, kindly enter the total under total with tax. However, if there's no tax, kindly leave it under total without tax. So I'm going to assume that there's no tax associated with this transaction, so I'm going to leave the total there. Next, I'm going to enter the selling price. So how much am I selling 1 unit of this laptop to my customers? So I'm going to make that 470, and I'm going to leave the supplier field blank because I've not added any suppliers to my database. Once I'm done, I click on enter, and it's going to store this transaction to my database. So now I've told the template that I have 10 units of this product, and this is the day that I made the purchase. So now if I go back to my product section, we should see that the formula generated fields have been automatically updated. My balance has increased to 10. The purchase date, that's the most recent purchase date, is November 1st. The most recent cost price is 450, and the most recent selling price is 470. So these fields are dynamic. They would automatically update as you add additional purchases. I'm going to repeat the process for the second product. But before I do that, because I want to make this a credit transaction, I'm going to go ahead and add a supplier to my database. So going to the report section, you notice the first button says suppliers. So I'm going to click to add a new supplier, and it works exactly the same way as the service section. I simply double click, enter the supplier name. I'm just going to call this Mike Computers. Now you can be as descriptive with the name. This is generic. Next, you indicate the address if you have it, the phone number, and the email address. The template will automatically calculate the outstanding if you owe Mike any amount of money. So right now we don't owe Mike anything, so notice that the amount owed says 0. So I'm going to go to the expense section. I'm going to add the second product restock. I'm going to equally backdate to the first day in November. I'm going to enter credit transaction, select the product, unit price of 150, quantity of 5, no tax inclusive, and the selling price of 170. Now, if I attempt to click on enter without entering a supplier, the template is not going to allow me to enter the transaction because it has been set in such a way that all credit transactions should have a supplier. That's the only way the template can track who you're owing money. So you must enter a supplier whenever you indicate that the transaction is credit. And that's why I added a supplier first. So you notice Mike Computers is here. I can go ahead and select Mike, click enter. Now it accepts that transaction. So you notice the second transaction here. And now it's under the total credits column. So the first is paid, the second is on credit. And now if we go back to the supplier section, we should see that we're owing Mike a total of $750,000. So going to reports, going to suppliers, you notice the outstanding has been automatically increased to $750,000. So that's how dynamic the template is. It will automatically increase the outstanding, and when you pay Mike, it will automatically reduce this amount. So going back to the expense section, let's assume that I paid 50% on the same day. So I simply click on add payments. I enter the date I made the payments. I select the supplier. We have only one, Mike. And once I do, the template will automatically tell me how much I owe Mike. So $750,000 balance to be paid. So let's assume I paid $300,000 from this amount, so a bit less than 50%. Once I click enter, the template is going to store that payment. And now if we go back to the supplier section, we should see that the outstanding balance should now be $450 instead of $750 because we've indicated a payment for Mike Computers. So going to the report section, clicking on suppliers, you should see the balance is now $450,000. So the template enables you to track your creditors at any point in time. And in the same way, if we go to the product section, we should see that Lenovo laptops has increased by 5 units. So going to the product section, we should now see 5 units under balance in stock. You equally notice that the template has updated the last 3 columns, the most recent purchase date, cost price, and selling price. Now, the advantage of the last 3 columns is that it enables you to see point-in-time information. Once you open the template, at a glance, you know the most recent price in which you purchased each unit of the products you sell, and the most recent date that you purchased it from the supplier. Now that covers the second button in the expense section. This is to be used whenever you buy additional units of the products that you sell. You simply click on the button, indicate if you paid or it's on credits, select the product, and then enter all other values. Now every other expense should be entered using the first button, Add Purchase. Now this is used to enter direct expenses and indirect expenses. Now direct expenses here will be your cost of service. Recall I said that this template enables you to track revenue from services rendered and revenue from products sold. So in the expense type, this is a drop-down list, and you notice we have several categories. Now, cost of service refers to direct costs associated with the services you render. Now let me give a practical example. So let's assume that I'm a painter, so I paint for a living. If I get a job to paint a 3-bedroom apartment, to be able to deliver that service, first of all, I need to buy the gallons of paint. So my cost of service would be each gallon of paint that I have to buy. Transportation to the venue to paint the house, those would be cost of service. Using the example in this template, recall that the services I render is installation of, for example, Microsoft Office packages. Now, the cost of service here would be the costs that I incur to purchase the software from Microsoft before I can install it on your computer. Because I don't manufacture these products, I need to purchase it first from Microsoft, then install it on your computer. So that would be a cost of service. So depending on your business, you know that what falls under your cost of service and what falls under your indirect expenses. Now, indirect expenses are things like advertising, rent, salaries, and so on. These are costs that you have to pay every month, regardless of whether someone places an order or not. So even if the whole of this month, I don't get any order, I still need to pay myself salary. I still need to do a bit of advertising. I still need to pay my office rent. So these are indirect expenses from advertising all the way down. It's only the first, which is a cost of service, that is a direct cost. Now this form works just like the other forms. You indicate the date. I'm going to backdate this to the 1st of December. Indicate paid. So let's assume I did some advertising on Facebook for my installation. And since this is advertising, that means this is an indirect cost. And let's assume I spent $10,000. And I'm going to leave the supplier blank because this is a paid transaction. So once I click enter, it's going to store that transaction. There we go. So that's the 4th expense, and this is in the month of December. So that's how you add your direct and your indirect expenses. You simply indicate the category, the status, and then all the other values. To add payments, we've covered that. You click the Add Payment button. Once you select the supplier, the template will tell you if you're owing that supplier and the exact amount that you're owing. So we're currently owing this guy $450,000. To delete an existing expense, you simply need to click on any cell in that row. So I can click on the category cell, click on delete. I get a confirmation. Am I sure I want to delete the advertising? If I do yes, you notice it's going to automatically delete the 4th transaction. There we go. So we have only the 2 product restock and the 1 payment. So that pretty much covers the expense section of the template. Next, we move to the sales section where you document your income generating activities. This is where you document all sales transactions. So you notice the label at the top says sales information. To the right of this, we have 5 buttons: to add a product sale, to add a service, to add payment when received from a customer, to delete an existing sales transaction, and to automatically create an invoice. Above this, we have our navigation pane, and below we have our table where all sales transactions will be listed. Now, my first demonstration will be a product sale. So I go ahead and click the first button, pops up a form. And before I do this, first of all, I'm going to add customers because the customer field, notice, is blank. So it's always advisable that whenever you get an order, first of all, store the customer to the customer section, then enter the sales transaction. So going to my customer section by clicking on the label there. Here I go ahead and supply values pertaining to the customer. This works exactly like the supplier section. I enter the customer name, the address if I know the customer's address, or this can be the business name. You can pretty much use the fields as applicable, the phone number, and lastly, the email address. The template will then automatically calculate the outstanding balance. So it's going to tell you if Rose Random owes you any money. Right now, she owes us nothing. So going back to the sales section, clicking on Add Product Sale. First, I indicate the sales date. Now I'm going to backdate this to the 1st of December. Next, I select the customer. So you notice Rose Random is now listed here. So as you add customers, this drop-down list will be automatically populated. Next, I indicate if Rose Random is buying it, paying for it up front, or if it's on credit. Now I'm going to make this a credit transaction. Let's assume that I charge 1,000 Naira per delivery every order of flat rate. Then I select the product. Now this will list all products in my database. The form supports entering up to 10 transactions at a time. So once I enter the product, the template will automatically return the average cost price. Now the template uses the weighted average model in accounting. So it will automatically calculate this average. That's the sum of all your purchases, product purchases divided by quantities, minus the sum of all you've sold divided by quantities. So that's going to give us the average, weighted average. Next, you indicate the quantity. So how many units of this product is Rose Random purchasing? And the selling price is automatically returned based on information you entered in the expense section. So let's assume she's purchasing 1 unit. Now, the moment I press the tab key, the template will automatically multiply the 2 to arrive at the total amount. It's equally going to tell me the balance. That's how many units of Dell laptops to have in my store. At the top, it will calculate a 5% VAT and the total price. Now, if you don't charge VAT, you can replace this with 0. So you can always replace the value that is automatically calculated by the template. But if you want the VAT back, simply re-enter the quantity and it will automatically update that. Let's assume she's purchasing the second laptop. You notice the moment I select the laptop, the template will return the average cost price, the balance I have in my store, and the most recent selling price. I can go ahead and enter the quantity she's purchasing, and the template will automatically calculate the total price. Now, the total at the top is the sum total of each line item. So 940 plus 170,000 gives us a bit over 1.1 million. The VAT is 5% of the total amount. As I said, this can always be replaced with 0. Once you're done, you go ahead and click enter, and it's going to store the transaction. So you notice we have 2 rows, each row for each product. They're both credit transactions, so they're listed under the credit column. And if I scroll to the right, the template will automatically tell you the cost price. So at a glance, you already know this is the average cost price, weighted average, and this is the amount that I sold it for. So for this transaction, I know I made a profit of 40,000. Or there's a difference, rather, not profit per se, there's a difference of 40,000. And if there's VAT, to be automatically entered here. But recall, I replaced the VAT value with 0. So that's how you add product sales. And if we go to the customer section now, we should see that Rose Random owes us the sum total of this plus the delivery cost. Going to customers, you notice there's an outstanding of a bit over 1 million naira. So that's how the template automatically calculates the outstanding per customer. So 940 plus 170 plus 1000. You notice at the bottom of the screen, it tells us it's 1,111,000 naira. Now, next, I'm going to demonstrate a service transaction. Repeat the process, click on Add Service, enter the transaction date. I'm going to make this the 2nd of December. This is going to be paid. I'm going to select Rows Random. And let's assume that I installed Microsoft Excel 2013. Now, once I select this, the template will automatically return the price I entered in the service section and calculate a 5% VAT. So if I'm not charging tax, I can replace this with 0. Is there a delivery fee? If there's none, I leave that. Simply click on Enter, and it's going to store that service transaction. So now I've indicated 3 transactions for the same customer, but on different days. So you notice this is under the paid column because it's paid. This is the service. Now let's say today Rows Random wants to pay me. I simply make use of the Add Payments button. Once I select Rows Random, the template will tell me the total amount that Rows Random owes me. So let's assume she's paying 1 million. Once I click Enter, it's going to store that as a customer payment. So you notice under product name, it tells me this is a customer payment, this is the customer that's paying, this is the amount that's been paid. And it will automatically reflect in the outstanding. You notice has reduced now to just a bit over 100,000. So that's how all sections are interconnected. You can add a product sale, you can add services rendered. Now, to delete works the same way. You simply click on any cell, for instance, the second cell, the 2nd of December transaction, click on delete. It's going to ask you if you want to delete. You click yes, it's going to delete that installation package. Lastly, to create an invoice, all you need to do is the same thing. You simply select the customer name. So if I want to create an invoice for the transaction on the 1st of December, recall there are 2 products that we purchased. I simply click on only the customer name. Click on Generate Invoice, and it will automatically create an invoice combining the 2 products together. There we go. So this is the invoice. It will automatically return the customer's phone number, email, and address for you, the invoice date, and these are the 2 products that were purchased. The quantity, unit, total price. If I scroll to the bottom, the VAT is 0 because we entered 0. This is the subtotal. There's a delivery of 1,000, and this is the overall total. So it will automatically generate this for you. You can go ahead and add any additional comments before you print this out, and the bank details if you want them to pay by bank transfer. So that's how to automatically create an invoice. In the same way, if I want to create an invoice for the transaction on the 2nd, I simply click on the customer's name on that row, click on Generate Invoice, and you notice the same thing. It will return the contact information, but this time around, this Microsoft Excel installation, 70,000, 70,000. Okay, so that's how the template works. It will automatically generate an invoice for the selected transaction. So that pretty much covers the sales section. We've equally covered the customer section, adding customers. To add a new customer, you just click under, type the customer's name, for instance, John Random, the address, for instance, Lagos, the phone number, and the email address. And there we go. It tells us John is owing us nothing. And if I go back to the sales section and I click on Add Products, we should now see 2 customers. So next we go to our reports section. Now the template automatically generates multiple reports. The template automatically generates 9 reports. The first is not a report. This is the section we used to add suppliers before. So it works like the customer section. This was when we added mic computers, but the remaining 9 are automatically generated reports. The first gives you a sales summary. Now later on, as you use the template, you have transactions across multiple months. So right now, these are all December, but later on, you're going to have January, February, and so many transactions. So this section is going to be clustered. Now this report enables you filter the transactions for a particular month. So once you click on it, it will automatically refresh. And at the top, you have the option of selecting the year you want to see and the month you want to see. So if you want to see only transactions, for now we have only January. Let me just quickly add another demonstration or another transaction. Let me make this a service, and I'm going to backdate to October just for demonstration purposes. Okay, so I'm just going to enter that. Let's assume she bought 2016, enter. So now we have transactions for 2 months, for December and also for November. So if I want to see transactions only for December in the sales report, first I indicate the year. So all my transactions are 2018. That's why we have only 2018. But under months, here I now have the ability to select either December, or November, December. So if I click December, it's going to hide the transaction in November. That's the first transaction. So you notice it's going to show me only the 3 transactions that occurred in the month of December. There we go. In the same way, if I select November, it's going to show me only transactions that occurred in November 2018. So as we always recommend, every month generate the report, print it out, and file it in your physical documentation. So there we go. So this enables you to filter your sales per month, per year. And you can equally go a step further. So if you want to know all sales transactions or all services transactions, you can make use of one of the filters at the top. So at the top, we have 3 Excel slicers. Income name. This way you can be able to see all transactions that fall in a particular category. So if I want to see all customer payments, I simply click on customer payments, and it's going to show me only customer payments, which is only 1. If I want to see all sales of this laptop, I click on it. It's going to show me only transactions that meet this laptop, which is only 1. If I want to see all installations, there we go. So this enables me filter by the income name. And the values here are going to update as you add additional transactions. If I want to see for everything, I simply click on the funnel in the upper right-hand corner. Once I click, it's going to clear the filter and show me all transactions across all income types. Next, I can filter by the types. If I want to see all product sales, I simply click on product sales, and it's going to hide all services. So you notice all the installations are going to be hidden, only the 2 product sales. If I want to see services, I simply click on services, and it's going to hide all the product sales and show me only the 2 installations. So there we go, 2 installations. So this way I can play with my data and I can easily know the total amounts that I generated within a particular period for a particular income name, income type. In the same way, if you want to see credit or paid transactions, you can use the 3rd filter. So if you want to see all transactions that are credits, you simply click on credits and it's going to hide all payments. And if you want to see all transactions that were paid, you simply click on paid and it's going to hide all credit transactions. Okay, so that way you have flexibility over your data. You can filter by time period, that's the year and months. You can filter by the income type, that's products or services. And you can equally filter by the payment type if it's credits or paid. To see everything, you simply click on the filter at the upper right-hand corner of that slicer. So once you click, it's going to filter and now show me all credits and all paid. So credits and paid. So that's the first report. You can be able to see your monthly transactions for a particular period and you can filter it to your taste. The next is the expense report. It works exactly the same way. It enables you to filter your expenses for a particular time frame. So you can see all expenses in a particular month, and you can even see across multiple months. But right now, all our transactions are in November. The same way you can see credit expenses, paid expenses, product restocks, and on the right, you can equally filter by supplier. So if you want to see all transactions related to Mike, simply click on Mike and to show you all transactions that you made with that supplier. Okay? And to clear the filter in the upper right-hand corner, you always see this funnel. And to click on the funnel, it's going to clear the filter and show transactions across all suppliers. The next report is the inventory report. Now, this enables you to see all products below the balance in stock of all of your products. So it will automatically refresh, list all products you have with their respective balance in stock, and then using the most recent price, it's going to calculate the value. So you know that the value of all inventory in your store is a bit over 4 million. And this is dynamic. So if I make a sale, this will automatically reduce. If I restock, this will automatically increase. So at any point in time, I can print this out, maybe at the end of every month, so that I know the balance, closing balance at the end of the month, and the monetary value. The next report is the profit and loss statements. Now, this is a self-explanatory report. It just enables you to know the total amounts that you made on a monthly basis and the total amount you spent on a monthly basis. So it's made up of 3 categories. Now I'm going to scroll to the right because I want to see November and December transactions. So it's made up of 3 categories. The first category is going to tell you your income, the total amount you made from products sold and services rendered. Cost of goods sold. So what is the cost of the products that you sold? What is the cost of the services that you rendered? And lastly, it's going to show all of your expense categories. So if you want to change any category, recall that in the expense section, when we clicked on add purchase, there's some categories here. So if, for instance, you don't do any advertising and you want to remove advertising and replace with internet subscription, all you need to do is in the profit and loss statements, simply change the value here from advertising to internet subscription. And once you do, If you go back to the expense section, you notice that it will automatically update to internet subscription. So you can change your indirect expenses using the profit and loss statements. I'm going to go back to the profit and loss statement, and I'm going to undo that modification, returning it back to advertising. So it's going to tell you the total across each category on a monthly basis, the subtotal, the net income, which is the difference between your gross profit and your indirect expenses, the total VAT for that month, and the total delivery cost for that month. Scrolling to the right, there we go. So we can see the values. So in November, we didn't sell any products. We only offered services and we made 90,000. In December, we sold products over 1.1 million. We equally offered services 70. This is the total, the sum of the two. This is the cost of what we sold. So this is the product we sold. This is the amount we spent to purchase what we sold. So this is the actual gross profit we made, which is the difference between the two. And at the bottom, we have the overall profit, which is the difference between the indirect expenses. There was a delivery of 1,000, and here there's a tax, that's a VAT of a value-added tax of a bit over 4,000. And you can confirm that from your sales section. So here, this is a transaction, there's a delivery cost of 1,000. If I scroll to the right, you notice that there's a VAT payment of 4,500 for the installation in the month of November. Now, the next report is the customer report. Now, sometimes you might want to see all transactions you've made with a particular customer. So all you need to do here, it works exactly the same way. You simply select the customer at the top. So if I want to see all transactions that I've made to rows, I think all this is rows, so nothing will be filtered. It's going to show me only transactions related to rows. But the moment I select Rose, it's going to return Rose's phone number, email address, and tell me if Rose is owing me anything. So at a glance, I already know a summary of Rose's financial information in terms of what she's owing me, and also history of the transaction. So this is what she's paid. This is what she got on credit. And the difference, this is the outstanding that she's owing me. So at a glance, you already have that information. And we have only one customer, that's why only Rose is listed. When you have other customers, you can select the other customers. You can also filter by year and by months. The next report is the creditor and the debtors list. Now these are similar. This shows you all suppliers that you owe and all customers that owe you money. So once you click, if there's any supplier you owe, it's going to be listed. So you notice it says there's only one supplier that you owe, My Computers, and this is the amount you owe. If you owe 10 suppliers, this is going to be 10. It's going to list each of the 10 suppliers and the amount you owe as at today. The same way, the debtors list is going to show all customers that owe you money. At the top, it will tell you the total number of customers that owe you only one. This is the customer and this is the amount that she owes you. If 10 customers owe you, this would be 10. It's going to list the 10 customers with the respective amounts that they owe you. The key metric report just enables you to see key metrics. So for instance, at the top here, you can be able to know the total products you sold in a particular month. Now this is the current month. So we're currently in December, so this is for December. Next month, this will automatically show you for January. So current month and last month are dynamic. It shows you for the current month, which is December, and then this would be for November. The total revenue and the percentage growth. In the same way, it's going to tell you the top selling category, which is this laptop you sold to, the top buying customer, which is Rose, she has made 4 purchases, and the top revenue month, which is December. This is the month you made the most money. This is equally dynamic. As you add additional transactions, this will change. So right now, this product is the one that's selling the most. This is the customer that's patronizing you the most, and this is the month that you made the most money. At the bottom, we have a chart, and this is going to show January up until December. Right now, we have transactions only in November and December. That's why we have only 2 data points. The last report is our Infantry Alerts, and this just enables you to select particular quantity. So for instance, I can enter 10, and once I click refresh, it's going to show me all products in my inventory that have 10 units or less. So these are the 2 products. If I enter 5 here, it's going to show me all products in my inventory that have 5 units or less. If I enter 3, it's going to be blank because there's no product that has 3 units or less. So the report enables you enter the upper limits. So once you enter a particular quantity, it's going to list any product that has a balance that's equal to the amount you specify, that's the number or less. So right now I entered 3. If I click refresh, nothing is going to be shown. But if I replace this with, for instance, 10, it's going to list any product that has 10 units or less. And once I click refresh, we should see the 2 products in our inventory. So that's a summary of the products and service template.